I want to hit on two things. Okay, two general things that have a lot of like details to them today. So the first thing I want to talk about is some new prompts in our save prompt area that I want Josh to kind of grab the screen for a little bit and just walk us through because these are game changers. If you're a teacher, there's a serious game changer one that we're going to do. And then if you're a children's pastor or any kind of if you work with kids ministry, there's a whole series of tools in there that I want you to see as well. So Josh, if you can first take us through, like I want to go through it for insider and outsider prompt, okay? And just kind of let them see that. Let me turn on, make sure that you're able to share your screen and it's all yours.
All right, here we go. I am hopefully picking the right window. All right, can everybody see that? It's always crazy when you get this many people in a Zoom room, the being able to keep your screen viewable. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to jump into this is a sermon that I preached that obviously I've done a lot of stuff with.
Wow, that's impressive, man.
Yeah, a sermon that I preached last summer, uploaded it. Let me real quick. So when you jump into the platform, I always try to start with this, like, hey, when you jump in, you're going to land on the upload page. I went to sermons, and then from the sermons page, you can obviously scroll and find your stuff. We are working on giving you a whole lot more tools to be able to find your content, filter it, have a view where it's going to just take you directly to content that you've created. That's coming. But in the interim, if you use this little search bar up at the top, it's a good way to get to, as long as you know the title or a word from the title, it'll help you filter it down. So then I'm in the overview tab. I'm going to jump over here to the playground. And in the playground, we've got these saved prompts. Thank you to all of you who have said, hey, it's not as easy as we would like to find the save prompts button. So like, if it feels like, hey, we all know how to do this, like really appreciate you bearing with us. That save prompts button is going to not only show you save prompts, it's also going to save you a ton of time.
Yep,
So,
that's right.
especially as you're inviting new people to jump into the platform, great place to kind of highlight, hey, here's a place you definitely need to know about. And as always, I just want to say, hey, you can create your own saved prompts. We've had a lot of requests for doing some prompt engineering, like training days, and so I think we've got that coming up. I think next, right? Is that what we're doing next on?
Yeah,
Uh,
we are actually going to talk about that in 2 weeks.
yeah, so we'll talk more about that in a couple weeks. But let me jump in here and show you. There's a whole bunch of new prompts in here. We've actually already begun designing a new way of filtering the saved prompts that'll make it a lot easier for you to find and everything. So just so you know, that's coming as well. So all right. Sermon analysis, insider versus outsider language is what we want to highlight here at the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and just use that prompt. And it's going to go through my sermon and effectively identify, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being this sermon's language is angled at uh, insiders, or I'm
No,
sorry,
outsiders.
outsiders,
Yep.
and one being this the sermon's language is angled at insiders, so people that are already probably followers of Jesus, deeply embedded in your church, understand, Christian words, and it's gonna give me an analysis of that, right? So here's your kind of breakdown on, hey, this is what we're looking at, and then it's gonna score the sermon. So this would be like just slightly angled at outsiders, and the reason we created this tool was there are certain sermon series that you're going to do each year that are going to be more angled at, hey, everybody, invite your friends to this series. It's going to be a series where, we talk about very practical things and show people how the Bible applies to our lives today, and, really just help people connect with the Bible in a new way. As well, it's always good to really be thinking about, hey, I have a spectrum in, with us every Sunday that are of people that may not even know what they believe about God and faith, all the way through to people who are mature followers of Jesus. So how am I addressing them? So it's going to give me a score. So this is six. Let's say this was a series where I was really trying to reach people who don't go to church yet, right? Who, we're going to create a really awesome invitational series. Step two of this prompt button. So this is a multi-step prompt button. It's not a prompt button. It's a saved prompt. Step two of this saved prompt is basically going to ask you, hey, where did you want this to land? And so if I would say, you know what, I was really for it to be eight, right? Like let's say I wanted it to be an eight. And then I just hit enter. And now it's going to tell me what I need to do to move it in that direction, right? And it's going to go through and literally identify aspects of your sermon where you're using insider, I'm trying to move it to the outsider focus. So it's going to identify aspects of my language that are insider focused and give me ways to say it that are more focused on outsiders, right? So, explaining biblical references, right? Like Paul says things throughout his letter to the churches that, uh, you know, basically like, hey, Paul, an early Christian leader, which, is just great feedback, right? Like a lot of times, I don't know about you, but it's very easy to fall into a rut of thinking that everybody in the room
Knows
knows
who
what
Paul
I'm
is.
talking about or
That's right.
who I'm talking about when I drop a biblical name. So it's going to just help you move it in that direction. And if I said, hey, I want it to be a 10, it would give me different feedback. If I said, hey, I want it to be a 1, it would give me different feedback and help me move it in that direction. So it's a really great tool that'll help you, basically from a teaching perspective, meet the needs of the people that you're preaching to.
Yeah.
So and this is we talk about this from like a sermon perspective, but if you're doing like children's ministry or you're in youth ministry, young adult ministry, you can use these tools with your teaching content there as well. So
Absolutely.
this is not
Absolutely.
just relegated to adult Sunday service. So anyhow, yeah,
Josh,
that's
I want to have you add one more thing to this that I didn't tell you ahead of time, but I do just you said something that kind of like I said triggered, but I don't mean it in a bad way. It's a good thing. Go if you go in the save prompts, one of the areas kind of an addendum to this would be sermon writing across the maturity spectrum. Same mindset, right? Same
yeah.
thinking through, hey, am I making sure that I'm talking to the people in the room that know nothing about Jesus? And am I making sure I'm talking to people that are like fully devoted followers of Jesus? So here's ways to like make sure that that's being done as well.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, run that one real quick.
all right. So one quick note, always start a new conversation whenever you're using a saved prompt. You're going to want the extra context. The prompts that, especially the church.tech prompts, are massive and you need the extra context to be able to run them effectively. You'll get degraded results if you run like two in a row on the same conversation. Also, it just makes it a lot easier to go back later on and find the things that, you're trying to get back to. So, yeah, so this one is designed to identify the different the spectrum of people who may be sitting in the room listening to the sermon, and then begin to give you some suggestions on how to connect with each one of them. So kind of similar look like feel in terms of these two tools, but this one's more kind of dialed into like, okay, you have a spectrum in the room of people who are, probably people who are like very mature followers of Jesus. And you probably also have some people in the room who literally have no idea what they believe about Jesus at all. And so
I hope.
here's
We hope.
just yeah, yeah, we would hope, right? We
Yeah.
would hope. So, yeah. So here's how to, modify this to really help each of those categories of people think very um, critically about steps that they can take
From
uh,
this message.
from this message.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
here's fully mature followers of Jesus. Here's growing believers. Like, here's some suggestions. And it gives you, like, not only a suggestion of what they could be doing, but also, like, here's how to integrate this here's some language to integrate this into your sermon. New believers, spiritually curious individuals, people who are skeptical of Christianity and the church. So, again, just trying to give you all kinds of capability to take your practice sermon. And that really is like, we're using this on a sermon that I have already preached, but the goal would be that you're using this on a sermon or a teaching that you're practicing out loud, or you're taking your outline, your manuscript, whatever it is that you're using, and pulling that in, and then running these prompts. So I would say like the best way to use these last two that we just showed you are to record yourself practicing out loud and upload that to the platform, and then run these prompts. Basically you can use voice memo on your phone or on your computer, upload it to the platform. That's how I would recommend using these. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Okay, one other thing I want to hit on this one. I know we've done it for some of you all. This might be repeat, but I think it's not been done enough. So, Josh, I want to just talk through the different offerings we have in this area that relate to children's ministry professionals. People are like leading children's ministry in different ways.
Yep.
How do you one of the things that we think about very often, and in every church that I've ever worked at, there's times throughout the year that we think, man, I want to teach this series from adults all the way down to kids. And as cool as that is, and everybody's like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. The hard part about that is if lead pastor gets his message finished on Friday, and now I've got to build out all the curriculum for everybody else, it's like, that's just impossible. How do we do that? Well, we've now got a way for you to do that. And so for those of you guys who've been and seen this before, bear with us. But for everybody else, these next set of prompts will convert an adult ministry message into curriculum for children's ministry in seconds.
Yeah, so the goal here, like Don was saying, and this is something that we've been working really, really hard on. Like, how do we help churches create, even if it's only for a couple series a year, how do we help churches create an aligned discipleship strategy, or I'm sorry, an aligned teaching strategy across all generations, so that then you can have an aligned discipleship strategy in your small groups. So like one of the first thing we really built for Church.tech was a small group leader guide and small group guide. And so, now you can create children's ministry lessons, and it's not just translating it to like a third grade reading level. It's actually writing children's ministry curriculum for you based on that message. And you can do this with something as simple as an outline. Like, it doesn't have to be a robust like, it doesn't have to be your final sermon that you've preached. You can actually take an outline and it will write the curriculum based on that. And it's going to give you everything from an opening activity to kind of get the kids engaged, to transitions in between each part of this. So like, hey, let's transition to worship. And here's your worship songs that you can do with links to YouTube videos that are gonna, if you don't have the ability to actually do live worship or something like that in that environment, then you can use this as inspiration. And then you've got an opening prayer, scripture passage. Here's how to like help the kids find that text in their Bible, and then a creative retelling of that text, and then an application story. So these things are kind of designed to be used in conjunction with one another. The application story is going to kind of bring it into, their world, right? Like, this is how this could be applied, to a fictional character in your world. It's going to have a set of discussion questions for small groups. So if you break your kids into small groups to have a conversation, it'll have that, and then also an activity or craft. Now, and then a prayer time and some take-home content as well.
Yeah.
Now, any part of this that you're like, like, I don't like those songs, you can just come down here and say, suggest songs that are more in the vein of, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Like, Elevation Kids or something like that, right? And it'll suggest new songs for you. Or you're like, hey, I want to do a different activity. It'll write a whole new activity for you. It's designed to be interacted with. So just so you know, like, everything that we're trying to build for you, we're trying to put it in a position where it's 90% done for you. But you can always take, and anything that's coming out of the playground, say prompts, you can take this and continue to work with it and engage with it. And the idea here is that hopefully you begin to see, you know, Church.tech, the AI that we're bringing to you as a helpful assistant that is going to, really work with you as you, kind of modify things and make them fit for your context.
Yeah, it's a really smart seat at the creative table, but it's not doing it for you, it's doing it with you. And so you've got to think that way when you're doing it. But alongside that, what Josh just did was every single piece of that combined, put that together. That's going to have the same content for them as the sermon will in the main auditorium. And one of the reasons why that matters to us is we have found over years, it's not that parents don't want to talk to their kids about Jesus, it's that they're actually afraid to not be able to answer a question. Well, the best chance that they're going to have to be able to answer a question is if you're going over the same material on the weekend. But alongside that, we have it create a parent guide. So not only is there take-home material, but here's a summary, here's scripted verses, this is what we used, here's some questions that you can ask your kids, and you can walk your kids throughout the week so that you feel informed when you're trying to figure out where they were and where their walk is with Jesus this week.
Yep. So then let's say you want to you're like, oh, this is good. I've like modified it. I've gotten a few things that are like exactly as I want. Maybe you want some more examples for when they could actually do this. You get that to the point where you're like, this is good. You can copy it or you can kick it over to a page, which is what I would recommend doing. So now we're going to make a parent guide and it's going to kick over to a page. And the beautiful thing about that is, one, that parent guide is going to make it really easy for you to get this content in the hands of your parents. So you can say file, copy page URL. I'm going to drop this into the chat right now so you can see this page. Didn't modify it at all. So, whoops, I clicked the wrong button. I always do this. Sorry about that. Click the wrong button twice. Great. Here we go. So this is the live link. And remember, we can do, you may not know this if you're joining for the first time, this URL up here can be customized to your church's domain. So it doesn't have to be, page.church.tech. It can be, parents.yourchurch's URL. So we have domain masking built into the platform. Here's your kids' content. You can send it out by text is what we would recommend, or by email really easily. And then the awesome thing is now I can see, oh, look, 5 of us have looked at that page. And I can see when we looked, how much time we spent on the page, if I added links to it. So like, let's say you want parents to take some sort of action, like sign up for camp, sign up for, this parenting seminar we're going to do, that type of thing. You can drop links in there and see how people are actually engaging with the content that you're sending them. And that's true with any page you make. You can always get this, feedback back. So, yeah.
So for the sake of time, I won't have Josh go into this, but we also then will have it create like a volunteer prep material for that as well. So there's a prompt that just says, hey, get my volunteers ready for children's ministry. So if you're not the one teaching, but you want them teaching, they've got an entire script and guide, but they also have this that they can get earlier in the week, which will show here's the key scripture. And then here's a way for you to kind of get your heart around it before you even approach it. There's a prayer and some different things in there that'll help you think through that. So another thing that's a resource for people. And then lastly, with Church.tech, if you've been with us for any bit of time, we have a personal 5-day devotional. You can go into Pages and click a button and there's a personal 5-day devotional. Inside here, there's also a 5-day devotional for parents and kids to do, like a family to do together. So now imagine you're an adult service, you're hearing content, kids are hearing similar content, and then we've got a 5-day devotional aimed at kids that parents can lead them through every day so they can let this kind of seed take root in the kids. So I felt like that was worth your time to see that and to get an understanding as to what that is. I see Doug like he's about to say something.
Yeah. Hey, let me give you one more just kind of pro tip when you're using, the children's ministry prompt in particular. We've tried to design it with, kind of the average church in mind. So when you get into the activities, it should suggest, supplies and materials that hopefully you have on hand. Now, here's the thing. I did children's ministry and youth ministry for, a number of years. And always one of the most frustrating things was you know, you get that activity and it's like, oh, you know, you need these unique things that I'm going to have to now go to the store and buy. And I don't know about you, but my budget was always tight. So it was always like, well, I don't have that. I got to pivot and figure out my own activity, or, you know, I've got to go spend some money here. Again, like if you think about what Don mentioned earlier, just go into the chat and you can say like, hey, you know, here's the supplies that I have on hand. Generate a new activity using these supplies, and it'll do that for you. Again, hopefully you don't have to do that often. Hopefully we've prompted this well enough that it's using pretty common supplies that you'll have around the church. But if not, and you're like, man, I just don't have a budget to go do this, just tell it what you do have and ask it to generate an activity for the supplies that you do have.
Yeah, we've even actually at times, Josh and I were at a conference last year and somebody put us on the spot, like, would it help me design a set for my children's ministry room? And we were like, based off this sermon series, design a set for a children's ministry room with a budget of $150. And it gave us an entire list of the material and then how to put it all together. It'll do what you're asking it to do. I mean, and here's the deal. What if you don't do that? Or if you're like, well, I kind of like the idea, but I don't love it. It's there to give you ideas, right? It's a seat at the creative table. It's not the owner of the creative table. So you can say, man, that's really helpful. I think I'll do this instead. But sometimes without it, you can find yourself going, man, I've already done all that. I don't have any more ideas. Well, it's there to help you have new ideas. And so really, really fun. Okay. Based off time, I know we don't have a lot of time right now. I want to hit on a thing that you all have been asking for. If you were at the last training days, we gave you a quick view of this. But the idea was this whole section we're going to go into are tools that you can use that are not sermon dependent. Okay. A lot of the things that we do are things that you take from the sermon and we can make a small group guide. We take from the sermon, we can make a 5-day devotional. There's all these things. But if you're in the communications department, you don't only just do announcements and communicate things that are happening for the sermon. Sometimes there's an event coming up. I've got to talk about, well, what do I do with that? Or sometimes I'm in more of a discipleship mindset where I just want to do a Bible study for somebody. What do I do with that? Or if I want to do a word study, but I don't have the time to go dig real deep in there. Is there something that can help me with that? Well, for those of you who've been in here now, you have a beta look at a thing that is coming up soon, very soon, called Ministry Tools. And so, Josh, if you want to share just a couple of them, I know you have some limited time today, so I want to respect that. But I'd love to get Josh to kind of walk us through the beginning of it, and then Doug and I are going to take over in a few minutes here. But when you go in, on that left-hand side, you'll see Ministry Tools. You all should be able to see that now. Let me say it one more time. If you guys came in late and you can't see Ministry Tools on your screen when you go in right now, what I need you to do is put in the chat the email address that you use to log onto the platform, okay? And then somebody will turn that on for you, and you'll need to refresh, but he'll DM you and let you know that that's happening right now. So Matt, you should start seeing stuff come up. But go ahead, Josh, it's all yours.
Absolutely. All right. So this is, like Don said, this is still in beta. So I'm going to actually point out a few things that aren't working exactly as we want, mostly just so that you know where to get the stuff that you need, and don't say, hey, this doesn't work. We're going to fix these here really soon. So I'm going to jump into the New Testament word study, and I'm just going to do the exact example. Justified, Romans 5:1, and I'm going to click generate. And what this is going to do is it's going to start working through a New Testament word study. It's going to generate to the content page. So this is the first thing that's not working exactly the way that we wanted to just yet. It's going to show up on the content page. The easiest way to get there, and the way that I would recommend getting to it, is actually to wait until this little pop-up comes back and click on it. We'll fix this in just a little bit, but this is the kind of the thing to do on that front, is wait for this little pop-up that's going to show up here in just a second, and click on that. And then while we're waiting, we'll go ahead and do the same one here. Doug, were you about to say something?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Doug looks stuck.
All right. So you'll be notified when it's done, right? So it's gonna pop up. We'll just go ahead and go to the content tab, and I'll show you where to find it. Here's our Romans one. I'm gonna show you how to get there in case you miss clicking on this. So you're gonna go to the content tab, then you're gonna come down here to ministry tool pages and click on that. And then here's our two new ministry tools. We've got a whole redesign coming on how all this is stored, how you get to it. We're going to make it way easier for you to do that here really soon. But here's the here's the word study for justified, right? So you've got your parsing, you've got definitions, you've got context within the book, context of Paul's writing at large. You've got New Testament context, other Greek words translated the same. Here's what it looks like in the Septuagint. Here's the Apocrypha, Hellenistic Jewish literature. I mean, it's going to go through and do a really, really, really robust word study for you. And the same thing is going to be true for the
Hebrew word study.
Testament word study as well. Sorry, lost my words for a second there. Yeah, parsing, definitions, context, right? So those two are live and in the platform to be used. I'm going to jump back over to Ministry Tools and show you a few others. We talked about this at the last one and it didn't work. It's working now. The announcements generator, you just put in the event that you are announcing, put the date, location, purpose of the event, type of the event, target audience, name of the church. We're going to continue, like every one of these, there are aspects of this that we're going to continue to add more and more complexity to. This one is going to become something that is just going to be beautiful and save you so much time. But yeah, it's already up and working. It'll write your announcements for you. It's going to write them for a whole bunch of different methods of making that announcement. So everything from stage announcement to social media, text messages, emails, like here's how to make this announcement across all of those different avenues. And then
let me jump in here. Marcy, I saw you in here. You should be salivating right now. Okay, back to you, Josh.
Yeah. So I actually have to jump, but
Okay.
really really excited about Ministry Tools. Grateful for all of your feedback in the insiders group and just letting us know, hey, here's what we'd like. We are working on a lot of these and we're working on the complexity, like the capability in terms of complexity for these as well. And so we're really, really excited about where we're going to be able to take this. So keep letting us know what you want. And yeah, thanks.
Okay, let me
hand
take
it
you guys
back
through a
off.
couple more. And I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, a couple more that I feel like are worth just highlighting. Right now is if your mind and ministry is not thinking about fall kickoff and it's about to happen like right now. Are you guys seeing my screen where it says your pages and things like, do you see that? Yeah. Okay, cool. If you're not thinking about small groups coming soon and things like that, that you're missing out. Now is the time to start getting the word of like trying to ramp up for fall small groups and things like that. So one of the ones that and Doug's on here with me because Doug's our lead prompt engineer and he writes most of these things and we just get to talk about them. But is a small group communication plan. So you name your church. Let's just go with my church and we'll say that small groups are starting on September 15th. And we have men's groups, we have women's groups, we have young adult groups. And let's go with that. What do you call them? Like everybody has a different thing. So let's just call them life groups. Generate. Okay. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to generate a communication plan for all the ways to get people up in small groups for the next 4 weeks. What are we going to do in the next little bit of time to make sure that the word is out and not just on stage? Because we know that there's way more ways to communicate what's coming up in church than on stage. I know a lot of people don't believe that in the church, but it's true. There's other ways to get the word out. So let's find out what those ways are. So we're going to go to content and then we're going to go to ministry tools pages. And so here's the Summit Small Group Launch Tool. Let's see if it's ready. It's still generating. So when it's still generating, you'll see this fun blob that does this. It's very interesting. If you look at it long enough, you can get lost in it. It's awkward, but yeah. So like it right here, it'll show up and it'll say, hey, this thing is ready to go. And it'll just do your entire small group communication plan for you. Somebody said it makes me think of old school lava lamps. Agreed. Absolutely. I think that might have been the intent. Is that right, Matt? Why not? So I will come back to that. While we're waiting for it, I'm just going to show you a couple more that you can do. Okay. So we've done New Testament, we've done Old Testament word study. You just want to generate a family devotional based off of again, guys, beta. This is what beta looks like. Okay. If you want to generate a family devotional, you can do that here. Okay. There's other things we've got going on here. So like if you have an outreach event that's coming up and you just want to get it out. So it's not Sunday, right? We've got this thing. We're doing a concert. We're doing something in the park. We're trying to get people to come and gather. It'll help you with a 4-week communication plan for that. Okay. If you're in children's ministry, family ministries, next gen stuff, and I'm saying this one to you all because I really would love your help, and we would all of your help. I'm probably going to post something like this in the Facebook chat today. But Gen Z strategies, Doug, talk a little bit about Gen Z strategies. What was the mindset when you came up with that, just to kind of help them think through how they'd use that prompt?
Yeah, I think we're all passionate about reaching, the next generation. But the church has not been doing a fantastic job of that. If you look at all those stats, the younger you are, the less likely you are to be going to church. And so what the design of that is like, it's just trying to help us think a little bit differently about how we can do ministry to reach specifically the next gen, including some new ministries that maybe we can start, as well as, what are some tweaks that we can do to existing things that are going to help connect well with the next generation.
So that's the idea of the things that we're doing in ministry tools. It's really the most random sampling of what do you need? How can we help you get there faster? And so you're going to see that a lot for what we're trying to do in here. You'll see, let's see if we can get over to some of the ones that I just generated. So small groups, let's see, is that ready to go? Okay, so small group launch tool. Here's your stage announcements for week 1, 2, 3, and 4, and kind of generally what you do. Again, our goal is to get you to 90%. If you want to go ahead and edit that, I wouldn't necessarily say it that way. Totally fine. But we all know it's way easier to edit something than it is to come up with something out of nothing, right? So that's what that is for. So you've got that. You've got social media posts. What would you do in the different posts? Okay. You've got email announcements. If you were sending out like an e-news, what would you say about this in an email context? You've got text message reminders. If you use SMS to get things out, it will help you with that. And then promotional video ideas, which are really meant to be things that you would film with your phone. We're not trying to necessarily say you've got to have a full studio in front of you to do this. But hey, I would do a story like this. I would do a story like this every single week. Here's some ideas. And so it's there just to give you ideas on how to get people into small groups when it's time to get people into small groups. That's one of them. Doug, I see your head moving. You got anything to add to me on that?
No, you're doing a great job.
Okay,
I'd
cool.
say like some of these prompts are really designed to help you guys generate ideas and think through, okay, what are all the different things I need to do in order to do something? Some of them are really designed to be content oriented, like the children's ministry lesson or the 5-day devotional, where we're trying to help you get further with the content that you've already created. So again, in the insider group, drop your ideas there. If you're like, man, I wonder, could AI do this? Sometimes we're going to come back and say, no, AI is not capable of doing that yet. Sometimes we may come back and be like, yeah, you know what? That's a great idea. We're going to build that. So our heart and our desire, we know we've all served in ministry. We all understand how much demand of our time there is as pastors. We want to help you guys to be able to get some of those demands off of your plate so that you can spend more time with people. We really do believe that that's the heart of being a pastor, is the relational side. Making disciples, developing leaders, that's what makes our churches go. And for me as a church planner, I'd tell you that's what starts new churches. So our goal behind these things is to help save you time so that you can do more of the relational side of ministry.
Now, if you guys were on here last week or 2 weeks ago when we did this, this was like, we can't even call it beta. It was like barely ready at all, right? And so we've made tons of progress in the last 2 weeks of bringing those ideas to life. But I said in the prompt, I said on Facebook, I did a post that said, give me ideas. What do you got? And I have to tell you all, what was come up with, there was not a bad idea. They were all really good ideas we're working on. We actually had a really hard time because we had a competition on like who wins, and we had to, it was a bit of an argument between a lot, like which one's the best. This one's, I don't know. They were all really good. but we're going to be working on those. I'm going to put another post up today inside of our Facebook page that says, what else do you have? The idea, one of the things I wanted for this is I want you to see the ministry tools section. I want you guys to beat it up. Again, you now are all beta testers, okay? And that's a lot. There's a lot of things that that's code for expect it to break a lot. Totally cool. If it does, just bring it back up. But here's something that's missing. We need this. You know what? I really live in the next gen space, and I would love to have this. I would love to have whatever that is. I'm going to put a post up. I would just love you to do that. Somebody said, where is the link to Facebook group? I will send it to you right now, on here. So what I want to do, on a couple of things, I want you guys to get a chance to just mess around. So I talked to them in my email, this one, about how we're going to do some lesson and some lab time. Don't leave quickly, be like, okay, they're done, we're good. I want you to stick around for a little bit and try some stuff out. I know a couple of you guys have brought up questions in here that you just want to ask that are not related to the things we talked about today. That's cool. I will tell you that whenever when we end this thing, we say, hey, there's a bunch of people that are going to stay on here. We'll be here to answer questions. That's where some of the best dialogue happens. People say, hey, I'm looking for this. And somebody goes, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. How do I do that? And on and on and on. So, yeah, so like make sure that you stick around, try some stuff out. But I'm going to open it up right now to any questions that you may have about the things that we've already talked about just now. So unmute yourself, ask away. You've got access to Doug, Matt, myself. Let's go. What do you got?
Thanks again. This has been really helpful.
No problem,
I got
Sean.
a
What's up?
question. If you want to upload material or content that you didn't create to create devotional or children's um, programs, like for example, you want to use some of the Gospel Project videos and you want to create a small group discussion for teenagers, small group discussion for middle schoolers. Is that possible, or is
Man,
that
that is a
breaking?
great question. That is a great question. I mean, it is possible. Sure. I'm trying to figure out if there's copyright issues, things like that, that we'd have to think about. So guys, jump in if you got pushback on that. But I mean, if you have access to it, and you can upload it like from a YouTube page or something, it will generate it as if it's a message, just like any normal message, and we'll do that for you. Do you need to ask their permission? That's a thing that you might need to wrestle with, but yeah, the functionality is there. I'll put it that way. Somebody had asked if we would walk you through domain masking, and just so you could see how to like make things look like your domain. Matt, are you here?
Yeah, I am.
Would you mind, do you have time to, I mean, I can do it too, but if you don't mind just showing them how they want to go through that and talk a little about that.
Sure, I can do that.
So this idea here is when we send things out right now, you'll see it says page.church.tech. If you'd like it to say page.hope.com or whatever name of your church is, as long as you own that URL, you can do that. And so Matt's going to show you how to do that.
Okay, so don't make fun of me for the number of tabs I have.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I
if
wouldn't have looked at it until you said it.
if this is not here, I guess I probably can actually delete this. You'll have the option to add a custom domain, and all it's going to ask for is the whatever URL you want it to be at. So, like, let's say I go to Southeast here in Louisville. So let's say I wanted to do like kids.scccc.org. I would go ahead and just write the full thing out. You don't have to put HTTPS, no www, just whatever the actual domain is going to be. You'll click add custom domain. That's going to go hit our service, and it's going to give you it's called a DNS record. If you're familiar with doing this with other products, it should be relatively straightforward. If not, you'll have to either, if you own the domain, like if you bought it, then you'll have access to add these kinds of records. If not, maybe like somebody on your tech team, whoever bought the domain or manages that, should have a pretty clear understanding. If you just give them this information, it's an A record, it needs to point here and it'll go to this IP address. They should be able to go ahead and set that up. Or obviously, if you have access to do it, then you'll be able to set that up as well. It will start working within probably 5 minutes. It might not show up that it's verified though for maybe 30 minutes to an hour. So just be patient with it. But you'll see after about 5 minutes, if you go to this URL, you'll start to see your content show up. And then if you do add a custom domain, whenever you copy the URL for one of your pages, it will automatically use that custom domain. And we're working on, being able to add multiples. So if you have if you want to set up one for kids or adults or even just different ministries that you have, you'll be able to pick and choose which one you want to use when you're copying that page URL. So yeah, that's hopefully pretty brief overview of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that answers Jay's question in the text about subdomains. That's coming soon. Joe asked there as well if that option, Matt, is only on the owner login.
No, it should be anybody that this is also a beta feature. So we haven't really gone and changed the permissions on any of that. So honestly, probably anybody who has access to the account should be able to go in and add that kind of stuff or see which domains are available.
All right, let me do one more because I remember somebody asking this too. Somebody, and I can't remember who it was, said they use custom prompts right now, but only they can see them. Is there a way for the whole organization to see them? So I'm gonna mess with, well, I'm just looking for one that I did recently. Well, this will work. So if you're in here and you go into the playground, when you're in here and you want to go to save prompts to make your own prompts, you got to create new prompt. Okay. You can write the name of it here, and then you can write what the prompt wants to be. And Doug, in the next 2 weeks, my goal is the next training days, we're going to center around, it's either the next one or two from now, but we're going to center around you giving useful help, hints on how to write prompts. So, so he would help you kind of talk through, here's some best practices on how to write effective prompts and things like that. That'll be the whole thing. But in this, the person asked, how can everybody else see it? You'll notice right now it says it's unpublished. Okay. If it's published, everybody in your organization can see it. If it's one that you just kind of want to use for yourself, then that you can keep it unpublished and it's just yours. Does that make sense? Everybody got that? Any other questions related to that? All right. All right. Any other questions? And what else we have, y'all? We have a little bit more time. Any other questions that we can answer right now? Well, this might be the easiest one we've ever done. All right. What I'm going to ask you to do.
Sorry. We're looking at multi-clips. How soon? I know it's still you can't edit them right now. Do you want to talk about the functionality of that, kind of what those are designed for, and when we'll
help me with that? Tell me, I missed what you said at the beginning.
With multi-clips.
With multi-clips.
Oh, the multi-scene clips.
Multi-scene clips.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna let you have that one, bro.
Yeah, I think we're pretty clear about this. I think most of y'all know. So we use Opus in the background, and that's kind of we just offer it as an additional service inside of our product. We're trying to really extend the way that partnership works with them so that whenever you generate a clip, obviously we're the ones that are paying for it inside of your accounts. You don't have to worry about creating an Opus account, but we would like to be able to just send you directly to the Opus editor. It's a really neat product if you've never used it before. And so that will give you the ability to edit those multi-scene clips. It's just a very complex editor. And so for us to try and recreate that inside of our product has been a little bit of a challenge. But they've done a really good job with it. So yeah, that'll be coming here soon. And even just the way that clips are created in general might change here a decent bit in the near future.
One of the coolest things that I feel has happened to us in the last 6 months is we started using Opus in the background, like Matt said, and when they kind of started noticing this group out here that's doing a lot with them, they reached out and were kind of blown away by what we're trying to do in the church space. And we have regular meetings with them on how they can best serve us now within reason, obviously, because they've still got a business to run that's far wider than the church space, but they utilize us for input on different things that you all need, and then try to help us with things. But Matt's team trying to keep up with all the changes they're making to make sure that we're keeping it's definitely a challenge. And that's one of the things that you have happening. So be on the lookout for some things that are changing. You'll hear me say, hey, that's coming. The main reason why you don't hear a date on that is because we're really kind of dependent a lot on Opus for what that date would be. So until then, Matt's doing his like very best for his team to keep us up with where we're going. But I know the clip functionality is a big feature that everybody loves. And it's what's funny to me is like I love the clip feature. I'm not trying to knock it, but to me, it's not the most powerful thing on the platform by far. Like what you can do at Ministry Tools and Playground to help dial in what you're doing from a communication standpoint or a sermon writing standpoint or small groups or devotionals. Those pieces like that are incredible functionality. And we really love doing clips too. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. That's coming. But we can't really give you a dialed in time as to when the next version of that's coming. Anything else? All right, what I want to do with the rest of this time is we're just gonna we got about 9 minutes left before we're gonna go. We can leave early if we need to, but what I'd love to have you all do is just go into your ministry tools section and try something. You've got something coming up, make it work. You know, if you've got an announcement that you've got to do, put it in there, see what it comes up with, see how what it would help you with. And then, what I'll do is we'll leave our mics live. And if you've got questions, just open them up and unmute yourself and ask the question, and we'll go ahead and let this be lab time.